Siege and Excellency, the party leader of UDA, Your Excellency, the party leader podium, I will request Professor Nyang'o, my academic senior, come and say two things here in minutes. Based on the presentation of the 10-point agenda, on devolution and compensation of victims, 2 minutes for Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o.
Your Excellency, the President and Vice President, thank you so much for convening this meeting. It's extremely important and informative. We only say two things that effectively that within this is the evolution and compensation of victims. As you know, some of us have been very concerned with your victims. I'm glad that today they're going on record that the victims will be compensated. Secondly, evolution. You know, there was that famous story that a child always asks for more, and it's never enough. The Constitution of Kenya says that there are two levels of government: devolution and national, separate but interdependent. Kenya cannot really develop fully if devolved government is not fully funded for the development functions that it performs. I'm grateful that it is said that the equitable share of revenue for counties has increased from 385 billion shillings in financial year 2024-2025 to 415 billion shillings in financial year 2025-2026. This is good. And it is projected to rise to 450 billion shillings in 2026 and 2027. We are happy about that. But you know, as I say, never stop asking for more. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the next item, before I call the ODM party leader and then invite you, I want to announce after those keynote addresses, we shall have a short plenary of about 15 minutes so that a few of us also can say a few things. Starting with the chair COG, I see a good turnout of governors here. We appreciate you, and then we'll have a few other members. I have the permission of the House leaders of the two houses of parliament to run the plenary as a retired leader of majority. Because of time, they have asked me to manage so that as many of us as possible can say something. Your Excellency, sir, it's now my honor and privilege to invite our leader, the leader of ODM, the Honorable Senator Oburu Oginga, Daktari, youth leader. Na kwa sababu anatafuta hawa, na mimi ni fireman, leo ni fire power. Karibu leader, karibu. Let's appreciate our leader, Senator Oburu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander of the Armed Forces, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Deputy President, and all protocols observed, fellow members of Parliament. I would like not to make, I have a written speech here, but I don't want to read it all. I want to have it here as part of the today's meeting, and I will give it to the press also to have it. But I'm used to speaking off the cuff. It is better for me than reading long speeches. Your Excellency, the report of the 10-point agenda committee headed by my sister, Honorable Professor Zani, is finally presented to us as a joint parliamentary session. Mr. President, this is not a small feat. Mr. President, the country has been waiting for this. The country has been waiting for this because we are in this broad-based government, but there are people who thought that this report was is the one which formed the foundation for establishing broad-based. Mr. President, I want to inform the country that a broad-based government started long before the 10-point agenda. Mr. President, therefore, it cannot depend, the broad-based arrangement cannot depend on the 10-point agenda. 10-point agenda was meant to strengthen the broad-based arrangement. And Mr. President, the 7th of March, which was slated as the date for making the report, was not the end of the broad-based arrangement. The broad-based arrangement goes up to 2027. The 7th of March was marking the beginning or the date when this 10-point agenda was signed. It was an anniversary. It was to celebrate that anniversary. It was also to give us the interim report of the progress of implementation. As you can see, the 10-point agenda which we have been taken through is something which cannot end. It is something which will continue from today. It will continue into 2027, and it will go on because it is life. Most of these things which are contained here are actually concerning the livelihoods, the daily livelihoods of Kenyans. And we want to improve our society so that there will be no victimization of a victim, or we shall not have victims of police brutality. And our police are supposed to improve, and we want to improve them because they are our sons and sisters. We don't want them to go to jail for killing people. They should not kill people. They should be trained to help our people to fulfill constitutional requirements. If our constitution allows demonstrations, let them be allowed to demonstrate, but demonstrate according to the law. Not demonstrate, you just wake up and you say, I want to go and demonstrate because it is my constitutional right. Yes, it is your constitutional right, but the law states how you should do it. The law guides. We must be a law-abiding society. And by abiding by that, what we are saying is that those who violate the law, those who violate the constitution should be punished. They should be punished. But we really don't want to trap our people that you employ them in police and then tomorrow you have not trained them well and you jail them. That is not the intention of the constitution. We want our police to be professional, but for now we are going to compensate those who lost their life. Compensation of life is not something which you can do. You cannot replace a life. You cannot compensate it. There's no cost to it. It is just to give some, to give some policy to the people who lost their loved ones. And it is policy for those who were injured in those demonstrations. It is not to compensate. It is, even though we call it compensation, but you cannot compensate life. So those who thought that, who were saying that there is nothing absolutely which has been done on the 10-point agenda, shame on them. Shame on them, because you can see there is a lot which has been done and there is a lot which is still remaining to be done. I am very, very impressed, particularly by the agenda of infrastructure. The infrastructure is the game changer, and that is game changer for the whole world. If you go to these countries, we are saying we want to go to canal through Singapore. That Singapore used exactly the same methods we are using, including the infrastructure fund, including this infrastructure fund which the president signed into law yesterday. And it is infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. That's what we said as a party, as ODM. If we continue to implement these infrastructural projects, the major ones like the SGR through Kericho, or Kisii, Kisumu, and up to Malaba and Busia, is a big game changer. This big road, which is connecting us with Uganda from Rironi, is a big game changer. And I was so impressed by the report about Northeastern. Northeastern Kenya is regarded to be an arid and semi-arid land. But there is a lot of wealth there. The country concentrated on what was called the high potential areas. But they left the north, which has all the minerals. It has all the animals. We need to take big abattoirs there and take meat to Saudi. A small country like Botswana has become very rich just because of exporting meat. Why? And we have ignored that area. Instead of opening it up, it is left as a security area. Why should it be security risk? If you have infrastructure, police will have all the ways of moving freely through that area, and we tap all the resources, including the mineral resources. There's a lot of water there, which is going to waste it. You leave water to go into the ocean, and then you don't tap it, and after a short while, your animals die, and including people dying because of lack of water. And yet there is a lot of water. The dams, we had this report of how many dams, the many dams which are to be built. There is one which is going particularly to our area there. It's called Soin Dam. Once the Soin Dam is done, it is going to produce electricity. It is going to be used for irrigation. It is going to be used for controlling floods, which occur every year, and we regard it as emergency. It is emergency. How can something which occurs every year be regarded as an emergency? How is it an emergency? And you know it will come. So you have thank you. Yeah, I don't want to. Your Excellency, I said I'm not very good at reading speeches, and therefore I will leave this my speech. I don't know. I will give it to the President, but I have spoken my heart. I've finished what I wanted to say. Thank you very much. Let me now invite, before as Mzee sits down, allow me to announce the following. After the president gives us his keynote address, a few of us will say a few things very quickly by way of plenary. I'm going to manage that so that we finish early. And then after that, there will be a closing reading of resolution by the two Secretary Generals of ODM and UDA, respectively. On that note, it is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency President William Ruto, Party Leader UDA, and Leader of the Broad-Based Administration. Powers in power. Asanteni sana, tafadhali tuketi. Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy President, our leader, the party leader of ODM, Oburu Odinga, Governor President, Senators President, Members of Parliament, both from Kenya and from Yala. I have a written statement, just like Daktari Oburu. Allow me to read half of it,
and then I will speak the rest. It is good to be back here at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, the birthplace of the Memorandum of Understanding between Kenya Kwanza UDA and ODM. Exactly 1 year and 3 days ago, my brother, the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and I agreed to work together in the national interest for the benefit of our country. Although our brother Raila is no longer with us physically, his wisdom, foresight, and enduring commitment to the nation continues to guide our shared journey ahead. The values we stood for, dialogue, unity, and the pursuit of justice and progress for all Kenyans, remains firmly alive. I am encouraged that the ODM party, now under the leadership of Dr. Oburu Odinga, remains steadfast in upholding the principles Raila Odinga stood for. Together, we honor Raila's legacy through our continued commitment to the ideals he championed for the unity and advancement of our country. Our coming together 1 year ago was guided by one overriding objective: to stabilize our country and to address long-standing socioeconomic and political challenges. For too long, our politics had been consumed and trapped by division, tribal competition, and regional rivalry instead of focusing on the real issues affecting the lives of all Kenyans equally. Together, we resolve to change that. Today's joint parliamentary group meeting between the two parties is therefore significant, not only because it reflects the spirit of that agreement, but also because of the responsibility we carry as leaders to deliver on commitments made to the people of Kenya. We had plans to mark the first anniversary of the signing of the MOU on the 7th of March by assessing the progress made in implementing the agreed agenda. However, as you all know, in the days leading up to that date, our nation suffered a huge loss. We lost a distinguished member of parliament, the late Honorable Johanna Ngeno of Emurua Dike, who was a committed member of this parliamentary group and a dedicated servant of the people. Were it not for the fatal helicopter crash, the Honorable Ngeno would have been seated here with us today. May his soul rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the MOU between UDA and ODM was built around a 10-point agenda, drawing largely from the recommendations of the National Dialogue Committee, or commonly known as NAT. These agenda items address critical national issues, including electoral reforms, the cost of living, governance, and economic stability. Following the signing of the MOU, we immediately began implementing the agreed program. I am pleased with the report that has been presented here today by the Oversight Committee, highlighting the progress made across the 10 agenda items during the past year. The progress we have made is evident across several areas. Our country today enjoys greater stability, and the partnership has created an environment in which government programs can proceed without unnecessary political disruption. Opportunities for our young people are expanding, with government programs now reaching hundreds of thousands of young people across the nation. Through initiatives in housing, health, agriculture, education, the digital and creative economy, as well as the labor mobility programs, we are deliberately expanding new avenues for employment. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to paraphrase the because I have been particularly meticulous in trying to find out where we are in the process of implementing the 10-point agenda. And just for the record, the 10-point agenda was not imposed on us. The 10-point agenda was our commitment, voluntary commitment between our parties in respect to the people of Kenya. There are some people who want to appoint themselves supervisor, as if we met the commitment to them. We did not make the commitment to them. We met the commitment to the people of Kenya. And our responsibility and reporting is to the people of Kenya. And let me say the following. We did this and we set the standard very high ourselves because we believe that is what we should do for the people of Kenya. Not because anybody forced us, not because anybody imposed it on us, but it is because it is our commitment that Kenyans deserve a higher standard of leadership and delivery. I know the matters of NADCO have been spoken very ably by the presenters of the report. We all agree that one of the most pertinent issues in NADCO was the issue of electoral reform, and especially the appointment of commissioners to the IEBC. You remember very well that that was a very big debate. Today, we have gone through the process. The court processes have been dispensed with, and today we have a functioning independent electoral and boundaries commission. It has already conducted several by-elections. And as a show of confidence in this broad-based administration, all the parliamentary elections that have been held have been won by broad-based. I said all of them. Yes. Just for good record, and we are not to say me. That's what it is. Yeah, those are the facts. In fact, the last by-elections that were held, of the 4 seats that were in contest, broad-based won all of them. Again, for good record. But that is not what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to say that we are faithful to our commitment on matters to do with legislation that is there in Parliament. We know there has been back and forth between the two houses. We will be recommending in this speech that we have a broad-based negotiating team. One that is going to sit with both houses of Parliament, comprising membership from both houses of Parliament. Because if broad-based decides, Parliament will decide. Is that true? Yes. Because we have the numbers to drive it through both houses of Parliament. So I want us to raise the standard a bit so that we establish a broad-based negotiating committee or mediation committee to assist us on all the items that have been presented for legislation in Parliament by NADCO. One has already been dispensed with. The matter of NGCBF, the courts have given direction, and therefore the legislation that has been presented to Parliament is now what the lawyers call factors of issue. I mean, it's been dispensed with. So we now need to pick on what the directions the court has given to do the rest of the funds. Let me speak specifically to some 6 or 7 critical issues that I have distilled from the report that was presented to us.
Point 10. Your Excellency, in the interest of time, we will run the rest of the program very fast because today is a parliamentary day. And this being a PG, I'm sure the two houses will want to proceed early. Your Excellency, the party leader of UDA, Your Excellency, the party leader ODM, our request, Professor Nyang'nyongo, my academic senior, come and say two things here in 2 minutes. Based on the presentation of the 10-point agenda, maybe on devolution and compensation of victims. 2 minutes for Professor Peter Anyang Nyong'o, an out of course.
Default. We now went into a plan on how do we reorganize our debt. How do we successfully negotiate our way? I can confidently, that's why we went to the market. We went to the market in February 2024. We went to the market in February 2025. We went to the market in October 2025. And we went to the market again this February. To do what? To do liability management. The debts that were due next year, we now have no debts due in 2027. We now don't have, we have a small debt due in 2028. Then we will go to 2037. We have reorganized our debt portfolio so that it doesn't threaten our fiscal sustainability. And I must thank John Buddy and his team at Treasury. They have done a very commendable job. We have also engaged some of our lenders. I do not want to mention names. I have had to go and sit with some of the lenders and tell them, guys, some of these loans are, the payment is too steep for us. You know, some of the interest rates you're charging us are very high. And we have successfully managed to reduce some of the interest rates. We have managed to change some of the structure of the debt so that instead of too much upfront payment, we have managed to negotiate to make them concessional. And today, I can confidently tell the country that we have avoided situations that will put a lot of strain in our budget. And number three, we have also decided that we are going to be innovative. We are going to be creative in how we do public assets. It is no longer tenable for us to continue borrowing. That is why we have said we are not taking any borrowing resources unless it is absolutely necessary. I see some people say there has been a disagreement between Kenya and the IMF. There's no disagreement. We have just agreed on what to do. We have agreed that if we need your money, we will come for it. If we don't need it, we will do with the resources we have. I mean, how does that amount to a disagreement? Are we together? Yes. I mean, is it wrong to be able to stand on your own and do your own stuff? Is that a weakness or a strength? Yes, to me, Akiliban. So, what have we done? We have decided to have alternative instruments of financing our development. We went the route of securitization. Many people told us, oh, you are going to do this. Because of securitization, and I must thank members of parliament. When I negotiated with you and I told you guys, forgo these 7 shillings, it will help us raise money. We raised 175 billion shillings. We returned all the contractors to our roads. We paid them. Today, we have 6,000 kilometers of road going on in Kenya. we have 90% of our contractors are back on site, and new roads are now being constructed because we decided not to continuously depend on the budget. We looked for alternative instruments for financing our road infrastructure. We are doing the same with Talanta. We are doing the same. Look, when I say innovative, I was explaining today in the morning, how did we decide to finance Talanta? The sports fund has been a fund that has been there forever. That sports fund has not achieved much because you find a few, a small project there. Most of the money is lost. Another project there, so you some agro in some place, some gate in some place. We decided that instead of spending this money with no accountability, let us consolidate it and do a big project. Today, and somebody was saying, oh, William Ruto has pledged for 15 years money from the sports fund. Yes, we have done it. But at least we have Talanta Stadium complete, standing here. Tell me, sports fund has been there for 20 years. Which other project has it done? Can you show me one project? At least I can show you what it's going to do for 15 years. Are we together? Yes, that's how innovation works. How are we building bombers? Have you seen any budget have you seen any approval of any line of budget in bombers? We are building bombers using the tourism levy. Tourism levy have never done anything for this country for the last 30 years. Nothing. Kitu mara sijui nini na sponsor kitu moja hapo na sponsor pale na kawiwa sijui waziri atupiga sijui nani atupiga. Today that money is building bombers. Friends, that is how thinking out of the box looks like. Kwani mlikuwa mnafikiri thinking out of the box mfanye kitu gani? If we had gone to borrow money to build all this, we would be in trouble, So we have decided to think outside the box. Securitization. We are discussing today proceeds from some of our mature assets. When we discuss about selling a stake in Kenya Pipeline, many people say, you want to sell the family jewel, or you want to sell this. We've done privatization before. We privatized Kenya Airways, we privatized KCB, we privatized Safaricom, we privatized I don't know which company. But today, we cannot account for the proceeds of that privatization. We are doing it differently. And that is why Parliament passed the National Infrastructure Fund. It is not an experiment, as I said yesterday. It is what other countries have done. It's what India has done. It's what the UK has done. It's what Ghana has done. It's what South Africa has done. And that is the way to the future. This morning, Leo, I rang the bell at Nairobi's Securities Exchange, and we collected 106 billion from the sale of our stake in Kenya Pipeline IPO. And we are going to put that money in the National Infrastructure Fund. Let me explain to you. If we don't have the National Infrastructure Fund, the National Infrastructure Fund gives us a different leverage. It multiplies that 106 billion 10 times. Not through magic, no. Through innovation, creativity, and financing. And that is how we are going to have additional resources to do our roads, to generate more energy, and to do what our senior here, party leader, was saying. He said, we pretend that there is always an emergency. in northern part of Kenya, when we know it's going to happen. Because of what we are doing now, if you read today's newspaper, we have already advertised for several dams. So when I talked about us using the National Infrastructure Fund and proceeds from privatization for building infrastructure, we're not talking about the future. We're talking about doing it now. We've already done the contract for Jomo Kenyatta. That is where about 15 billion shillings is going to go. And that 15 billion shillings is going to enable us to raise 150 billion. Just by putting 15 billion. It's the same thing we're going to do with the dams. If you check today, we've already advertised several dams, because that is how we are going to cure the problem of food insecurity. Going water harvesting, water storage, irrigation. That's how we're going to eliminate the shame of hunger in our republic. And we are beginning that journey today. Many people were asking themselves, will the National Infrastructure Fund be accountable? I want to tell you, yes, it's going to be accountable. It's going to be accountable to Parliament. It's going to be audited by the Auditor General. It's going to engage Cabinet. And we are going to make sure that no shilling of that money is going to go anywhere except for productive national infrastructure. I will be appointing the board tomorrow. Yeah, once I go to the governing council tomorrow, then they will be the one to competitively recruit the board, because we want to inject transparency into that space. I was saying this in reference to debt, how we are dealing with debt, and how we want to make debt not a threat to the Republic of Kenya. Number one, we have negotiated with our lenders. Number two, we have rearranged using liability management the debt portfolio. Number three, we are using different mechanisms to raise revenues for matters to do with the public infrastructure development. We are using private-public partnership. Finally, the Rironi Summit Road, we are not even investing money from the public. That is being built using private-public partnership. And that is how we are going to grow our country without putting too much burden on citizens on taxation or over borrowing from everywhere. So national debt. So if anybody was doubting the commitment of the broad-based government or our commitment to the 10-point agenda, I have explained with clarity what we are doing, because we set up this exam ourselves. We wanted to the highest standard for ourselves so that we can serve the Kenyan people better. Let me go finally to one more issue, and that is the issue of Mr. Speaker, I want to blame my colleagues in passing our biggest condolences, because we are told 52 Kenyans died because of Friday river floods, Mr. Speaker, sir. 71 vehicles was swept away, and of course there was massive place that is one of the news outlets. Then number four, devolution again. We realized that just as we have the national administration, the county assemblies, members of county assemblies and governors have no pension. And we have made the strategic decision that the bill that was there in Parliament, which in my opinion has serious challenges, it is my position that we now agree in this PT, that it is only fair, governors and members of the county assembly are elected leaders like us. The same way we have pension, it's only right that they have pension. We all agree on the principle of contribution. The same way we contribute pension, they too, and I don't think they are contributing pension. So it is my request to this assembly that we change the law that currently is in Parliament so that we include governors and we make sure that pensions bill is contributory. Yesterday, I did sign into law the pension benefits for judges. I don't think we should leave our governors and county assembly members behind. So those are the 4 fundamental things that I wanted to say on matters to do with enhancing, supporting, and integrating devolution into our governance system. Finally, now that the court has pronounced itself on the matter of CDF, it is my belief that the bill on ward fund that currently is in Parliament should now be fashioned along the recommendation that has been made by the court and passed up it, so that our county centers can have a legal framework to guide on matters. And I don't think this great assembly of PT has any problem with that. Do we really have a problem with that? Very good. So I think that will be the next thing we are going to do. And I appreciate that many governments have already implemented the ward fund even without this legislation. Now, let me go to the first issue that I thought is important. The matter to do with leadership, integrity, and the private. This is a key commitment that we made under the 10-point agenda. Now, let me say the following on this. Number one, as part of our commitment to leadership, integrity, and the fight against corruption, you know very well, we had a candid conversation on holding ourselves as leaders to the highest standard of integrity. You remember, members here, I don't want to remind you, but you remember we had a difficult position, we had a difficult conversation, right? On that matter. It is because we chose ourselves, these members, we chose that we need to raise the bar. And I want to thank members of parliament here, you passed the conflict of interest bill, which I signed in. If there is a demonstration of leaders sitting here that they want to be held to the highest standard of integrity, it is your passing of the conflict of interest bill. Today, it is law in Kenya. And I want to congratulate both houses for stepping up and measuring up to the yardstick of integrity. Number two, we have taken the deliberate decision that to eliminate corruption, to remove inefficiency, we must digitize all government services. Today, from 320 government services in 2022, we have 30,000 government services digitized. That has significantly eliminated bottlenecks. E-Citizen today collects more than 1 billion shillings every day. It is a platform that is traceable. It is a platform that's accountable. The old system where people were paying cash and paying through checks and paying through corners and paying through pay bills, we have stopped. And today, if you pay on e-citizen, you don't need a receipt because it is traceable from who paid, what service, to what account. We have digitized government services as part of our commitment to eliminating corruption. Number two, I did sign into law June last year the money laundering and anti-terrorism financing law. Again, as our commitment as an administration and as a country to transparency, to accountability, that illicit flow of money does not find its way into Kenya. As I speak to you, we also undertook three actually significant steps as a means of accountability and reducing on corruption. Professor Anyang, who was in our treasury, will tell you we have been struggling for the last almost 20 years to do what we call single treasury account. It has never happened. It has happened this year. We have been struggling to do what we call zero-based budgeting, meaning that we eliminate confusion. There was an element where people were saying corruption is budgeted. This time round, we are introducing greater accountability on budgeting to make sure that for every budget, every year we bring it to zero. We know what was achieved, what was not achieved, and then we plan again. So those two, and then finally, we are undertaking the e-government procurement. We know it has caused difficulties. It has not been easy, but it has not been easy because those people who are used to manipulating things and tenders and what have really fought this matter. We agreed on EGP like 8 years ago. I think it was 2020. It has been in the books. It has never been implemented. We have implemented it this year. Why? Because we want government procurement to be transparent. We want accountability. And we want to know if you are selling to government, are we getting a fair price? Who is supplying the tender? For how much? And it must be open in a portal where all people involved can follow, so that if I don't get the tender, it means I was not the lowest or I did not meet the qualifications. That is what we are doing in matters of integrity and making sure that leadership is held to account. Let me also say that we have enhanced the place of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. They have concluded 143 cases, investigations. They have already obtained in the last 3 years 86 convictions. And because we've always been told convictions is a challenge, we've achieved 86 convictions, and especially we have enhanced their capacity to seize assets. We've already obtained assets of 9.8 billion, which have now come back to government, and we are pursuing assets worth 22 billion, assets that were obtained by corrupt means. And we say those assets must be surrendered to the government of Kenya. On the fourth item that I wanted to speak to is on the matter of debt. In fact, if you look at the 10-point agenda, there was a bullet, standalone, national debt. The national debt has been a very big challenge to Kenya. In fact, debt almost brought our country to its knees. You heard what Professor Kidura said, that in 2022, there were 6 countries that everybody believed in the world they were going to default on their foreign financial obligations. One of them was Kenya. And why was Kenya there? Because we had the largest Eurobond of $2 billion. And I remember my good friend John Buddy saying, I mean, this debt was there. Everybody knew it was coming up, and nobody was doing something about it. You know, we were just waiting. And so the first thing when we came into office, we said we can't. This country cannot default because many people don't understand the consequences of a country defaulting on its foreign obligation. It just turns your economy into something else. Just look at what happened in one of our neighboring countries. I don't want to mention names. When they defaulted, their currency was devalued by 100%. Just imagine Kenya's currency moving from 120 to 240. Would we have a country left here? And you know, there were very many people who were persuaded that the Kenya currency was going to go to 200. In fact, I remember speaking to one of the bankers who is no longer my friend because he was among the people who, you know, imagined they were already piling up dollars because they imagined that when it gets to 200, they will make a killing. Unfortunately for them, they had to make losses because the 200 shilling dollar did not happen. So we had to intentionally deal with the debt. What have we done on matters to do with debt? Number one, we made sure that we did whatever it took. And I appreciate that I had to make some very difficult decisions for us to be able to escape that we had to cut down on spending by about 300 billion. We had to remove subsidies on women. We had to remove subsidies on students. We had to eliminate, we had to stall some of our projects because we had to pull back from continuous borrowing. That's number one. Number two,
thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. The Principal of ODM, Deputy President, Your Excellency, present, Cabinet Secretaries present, Excellency Governors present, Members of Parliament, Joint Committee. We stand at a very important time in the transformation of Kenya. We've just had a very detailed report that has been given by the Deputy President. We are coming in as the committee that was tasked to look at specific aspects of that development, just an aspect of it, which is the 10-point agenda. Because of time, I will not go into what the 10-point agenda is, because very short implementation. I just want to state here that when we talk about the implementation of the 10th agenda, it is ongoing, has been ongoing for a very long time, and will be ongoing because it sets the path for a developmentalist agenda, for a transformative agenda that changes this country forever. We are the players for that particular process at this time. We need to be able to ensure that we can change our economic, our social, our political development, and make changes that are very, very critical. We are one of the countries with the largest percentage of the youth batch who need the space to be able to develop. Therefore, this 10-point agenda should not just be seen as a 10-point agenda. Indeed, it sets a policy framework for how we can progress this country by looking at the various aspects. We're looking at aspects of job creation, for example, and youth employment, financial extension, infrastructural development, And it's very, very important, as the Deputy President has said, that we'll be able to put into place the National Infrastructural Fund, which will help us put our funds together, maintain and pool our sovereign wealth funds, use public-private partnerships to make these changes. Why am I mentioning this? Because this is a significant change. Once we have infrastructural change across the board, these other deliverables will fit into place. Other countries have done it. Why can't we? Nigeria is at has this sort of a fund started in 2011, Ghana 2014. We have the India 2015, and Canada also has this particular fund. So it is possible for us to make this progress. What have
the subject we committed ourselves to, which was peaceful assembly and making sure that the victims of protests are compensated, although we are being told here, and it is correct by the facilitator for the that you can never compensate life, but you can do something about it. What have we done? You know, many people are saying, oh yeah, maybe. I took the first step and gazetted a victims compensation plan. It subsequently went to court, and the court held it for a while. Even as the court held it, we did some work. We have identified all the victims, as I talked to you, with the Kenya Human Rights Commission, with the Independent Police Oversight Authority. We have identified all the victims and profiled their names, and we have already made sure that we have a comprehensive list. We did not even look at 2013. We went back all the way to 2017 to make sure that all those that were affected by protests from 2017 are now captured. So we have already identified all the people in there. We have provided resources. You will be approving 2 billion shillings to make sure that we have the resources to compensate those people. Finally, the court came through and gave direction on how that process should be done. And last week, we now in compliance with the decision of the court. Last week, we gazetted a panel that was recommended by the court to expedite this process. And it is our belief that unless something else happens, we should be able to conclude this exercise before June so that we can all be in that state. But we are not stopping there. We are saying we want to look at the future. And so I think it would be right for us in this BEG to recommend that the Kenya Human Rights Commission propose a law to Parliament on protection of protesters. Let there be a law on how to protect protesters, because it is a constitutional right. We do not want to propose the law from the executive side of government. Let it be proposed by the Kenya Human Rights Commission in consultation with others so that we can carry that through. Let me conclude by saying that aside from that, we have facilitated the Independent Police Oversight Authority to make sure that those security officers in breach are held to account. As I speak to you today, 35 cases have been successfully prosecuted and 49 police officers have been convicted. As I talk to you, we have another 30 cases that are undergoing disciplinary action in the police, and the process is ongoing. We have implored on the Police Oversight Authority to appropriate this mandate as efficiently as they can so that we can all move together in that same direction. What has to do with the the rule of law. I think it was explained here with a lot of clarity. Number one, we are facilitating the courts to make sure that they have the human capital to deliver on this mandate. I did swear in 11 judges of Court of Appeal. There is an ongoing process of hiring more judges. There is also an ongoing process of hiring more magistrates. We have provided the resources for that. We did provide also resources for the mobility of our judicial officers. They wanted some vehicles. We have provided the resources for them. They wanted the resources to do e-filing across the country. We have provided resources for them. And yesterday, as I say, with the passage of Parliament of the benefit, especially pension benefit bill for judges, yesterday I did sign it into law so that we can give our judicial officers greater capacity and be able to, for them to be able to appropriate and discharge their mandate as is required of them by the Constitution. So in a nutshell, these are the items I wanted to speak to, just as summary of the items that we are engaged in as an administration. And we are not doing this to satisfy the 10-point agenda. No, we are doing this because it is good for them. And because we made a commitment, not by force, but because we wanted to do it. And I'm very confident that working with you, we will find the way into the future together. Finally, while some initiatives have taken longer due to parliamentary and other judicial procedures, we must now accelerate the passage of the laws that are there in Parliament. And I do recommend that we establish a mediation committee, a broad-based mediation committee to negotiate between the two houses of government so that we can pass whatever is remaining, the 10-point agenda. I know the committee, the oversight committee have requested us to extend their term by only 60 days for them to conclude some of the processes they are doing. And I think it's only fair. They have done a great job. I think it's only fair that we extend that by 60 days. I don't know whether that is agreeable to members here. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many of the contrary opinion don't speak? Right? So I think it is so extended. And finally, I want to secure your concurrence that we ask the leadership of Parliament to establish a mediation, a group-based mediation committee to negotiate on some of the issues that are outstanding on the NADCO bills that are in Parliament. Do we agree that we establish a broad-based mediation committee? I put a question. Will as many as of that opinion that we establish a broad-based mediation committee say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion shut up? Okay, so I think that is that. And finally, I want to request that with where we have reached, I don't know whether this is the right point for us to say this. Where we have reached in the consultation, I will maybe want to ask the leadership to come and read for us the summary of what we have achieved. But let me say the following, because following consultations between the party leader of ODM and myself, on behalf of all of us, the UDA management committee did endorse. We begin consultations between UDA Kenya and ODM. It was also approved by the National Executive Committee, UDA, and it was also approved by the National Governing Council of UDA. The same happened for ODM. There was, I think, a meeting of the management committee of ODM, NEC, and also the other organs. It is my proposal that this PG endorses what was agreed in the organs of ODM and in the organs of UDA as a means of carrying also the decision as endorsed by this joint parliamentary group. I don't know whether that is a good place for me to put a question. I therefore put a question that as many as of the opinion that they agree with the decisions of the organs of ODM and the organs of UDA on the process of engagement between our two formations. As many as of those who agree with the decisions of the organs of the party say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say something? Nothing. Okay, we say nothing. The ayes have it. I don't know whether there is another matter. Yes, there is a final matter. Just hold on, Chair. There is a final matter that it is my request and that of the party leader of ODM that as a way of now progressing our consultations in line with the authority given to us by the organs of the party, that this PG endorses the formation of a technical committee to now take the process forward of 4 members from ODM and 4 members from UDA to craft for the party leader of ODM and myself a technical committee to put together how we take this process into the future as recommended by the party organs of the 2 formations. And we want to ask this PG to agree that we form a technical committee of 4 members each from UDA and ODM to take this process forward. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion, if they want to say something, they have nothing to say. Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, it is, I think, for good record, we should say the ayes have it. I think I have discharged my mandate as permitted by Daktari Professor, by Daktari Senator Oburu Odinga. I did secure his concurrence that I undertake this exercise. So I want to say thank you very much. I leave now the other processes to the rest of the people. Yes, yes. You want to say something? Are you sure you want to say something?
Sir, I'm sorry you have to speak for you. Please say something about that. The silence in this report, even under the recommendations of the examining committee, they are silent about the way forward. No, it is not there.
It is there. Can somebody read out the
Chair,
it is there.
Your Excellency, please let me.
We cannot make such a fatal
You know, Your Excellency.
Item number 1. Constitutional amendment. Yes.
Yeah, but you know, sir, you know how critical this matter is.
Yes.
Your pronouncement means a lot to the women of the country. It is very, very important that this is mentioned right here and now.
Let me be specific. Let me be specific. Part of the reason why we believe there is need for a broad-based mediation committee is because the constitutional amendments that have been proposed, including that specific one on two-third gender rule, we need as a broad base to agree on a common position, both in the National Assembly and the Senate. And primarily, that is the reason why we are proposing that mediation committee. And we all agree in this PG that we are in support, at least party leader Uhuru Oginga and myself support 100% the matter of the two-third gender rule. And this parliamentary group in its entirety, without any exceptions, support the two-gender rule. Whereas two-third gender rule, whereas many of that opinion say, I honestly says, we are all in. Yeah, we are all in. So thank you very much.
Because the scorecard in the last 3 years do not have been without delivering we will not have succeeded to the enabling legislation was not passed by the National Assembly and the Senate. Okay. Because the majority of two parties form the majority of the members of the two houses. History will we have had the attendance of 137 National Assembly members of UDA and 68 from ODM. 137, sorry, from UDA and its affiliates in Kenya Kwanza, and 68 from ODM, total 205. Members of the Senate from Kenya Kwanza, 22, and 38 from ODM, total 60. The other members, 3 from UDA and none from ODM. I don't know where the ODM, the other brigade is. The total numbers, National Assembly, 162. And from National Assembly, 106 from Senate, total, both houses, 268. Your Excellency, we also have Excellency governors, maybe those who are still here. I see Waiguru, Sakaja, Garo, Tutu, Governor of Lamu. I see some of them have left, and the chair of the Council of Governors is also present. Your Excellency, because of time, you have had very clearly 2 major presentations. One, our scorecard as broad-based government. 2, our progress on this long-term issue about the 10-point agenda. Our 2 leaders have spoken, UDA, ODM. So really, unless there is something, maybe a comment or 2, we can take them. And after that, I'll invite the House leadership of the 2 houses to come and flank those who reach the resolutions on behalf of the joint PG. And in the next 3-4 minutes, we can be out of here. Yes, Honorable Watch, quickly. Honorable Watch.
Thank you, Your
Yes.
Excellency. Thank you, the Vice President, the Deputy President. I have only 2 comments to make, one by way of way forward. The main issue that I want to say, the communication that comes out of here must be clear and sustained in terms of what the 10-point agenda has achieved.
Correct.
And I think His Excellency, the President, has properly captured this.
Yes.
Much more than I see on this reported, not because they have done a bad job. I think we must recall these documents and capture what the president has said in terms of what has been achieved, so that what goes out to the public captures what the president has said and what the committee wants, so that we don't give any room for miscommunication. My second and last point on the issue of governance and the rule of law is to provide for a consideration on how we can strengthen political parties and continue to fund political parties as per the law requires. Thank you.
Good job. Can we take a position on that? He thinks the president's explanation has been a little more. Yes. We can do an executive summary and release a dispatch maybe later today, not immediately now. Release a dispatch on the 10-point agenda in a more comprehensive manner. So members of the press, you will have to wait until later in the day for that dispatch to be issued. And also the funding of political parties, I think we are in concurrence. There has been of that opinion, say aye. There has been of contrary opinion, say nay, the ayes have it. Right, other than that, any other comment? I think that was a very good input. I think we are good. Please, House leaders, one more from a lady member there. The last one. Yes.
Point of correction.
Yes.
Talanta Stadium is now Raila Amolo Odinga Stadium.
Thank you. That should also be reflected for the
Corrected, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I think this is a good position to end because of the pressure of the parliamentary time this afternoon. Thank you very much, the leaders of the both houses of parliament, both from the UDA and ODM side. We appreciate you giving us an opportunity to assist in the running of the affairs of this meeting. I now invite the leaders of both houses of parliament from both sides, UDA, ODM, to step forward and we'll get the resolutions read. After that, Bengal will go to the national anthem. We conclude the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, DP. We'll ask Honorable Sarah Millie Odhiambo, if you're in the house, Mr. Ford, and the 2 SGs. SG. Millie. Yeah. Excellency, if you allow me to also acknowledge among us those members who are here, we also have our partners and friends from the Jubilee Party who are not part of ODM or Kenya Kwanza. Yeah, we truly appreciate them for joining. Now proceed to read the communique following the second joint ODM-UDA parliamentary group meeting held at the KICC today in Nairobi. The joint parliamentary group of the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, and the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, held its second meeting at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, Nairobi, on the 10th of March 2026. The meeting has reviewed progress made in the implementation of the broad-based government agenda over the past year and received reports from the Oversight Committee on the status of the 10-point agenda agreed upon between the two parties. The joint PG noted with satisfaction that approximately 80% of the agreed commitments have been implemented. The meeting reaffirmed that the memorandum of understanding between UDA and ODM is anchored on a 10-point agenda drawn largely from the recommendation of the National Dialogue Committee, addressing key national priorities, including electoral reform, the cost of living, governance, economic stability, and institutional reform. Members are observed contributed significantly and created an environment for the implementation of programs aimed at expanding economic opportunities, particularly for young people in Africa, while strengthening sound management. The meeting further noted progress made, stabilizing the economy and addressing the cost of living through measures including reduced inflation, the continuous fertilizer subsidies program that is supporting farmers across the nation, expanded healthcare and health coverage of the Responsible Health Authority, strengthened anti-corruption measures, and restored road projects through the securitization of the road maintenance levy fund. We invite confidence to continue.
The meeting resolved to extend the mandate of the Oversight Committee by 60 days, to enable it to finalize outstanding matters arising from the implementation of the agenda. In addition, the joint PG agreed to establish a joint technical committee with each party nominating 4 members and the respective executive directors serving as joint secretary. The committee will develop the shared policy agenda and priorities of the two parties, which will inform the work of a coalition framework to be considered later in the year. So this is the technical committee that will develop the issues and the things that pertain to the public and the two parties and lay ground on what issues the negotiation committee will discuss on the issue. The joint parliamentary group reaffirmed its commitment to continued cooperation in the national interest and to advancing reforms aimed at strengthening Kenya's democracy, stabilizing the economy, improving the livelihood of the people of Kenya. The PG resolved to adopt all resolutions passed by the organs of the party. That's the end of our statement. And thank you very much, Your Excellency. We can also, in the spirit of strengthening political parties, want to bring to the attention of the PG that the ODM is full of billion shillings. So they're managed full of billion. If we get that one, then we shall be very happy.
Thank you. I think DP, would invite you back to help us close the meeting and request members of the House Business Committee in both houses, please, immediately after this meeting, Honorable TJ, let us proceed straight into the meeting for the House Business Committee. Thank you. And with that, I'll request that we all be abstain. President of the Republic of Kenya and leader of UDA, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Honorable Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga, the party leader of ODM, distinguished honorable members of Parliament and Kenyans. We, as the committee overseeing the implementation of the 10-point agenda, are glad to come before you to make this presentation. Various keys that are marked as achievements have been enumerated by His Excellency the Deputy President, and I will not go much into that. And given that all of us here have got copies of this 10-point agenda, I'll only make brief highlights under each section. The building of a nation is a project that never comes to an end, and that is why His Excellency President William Ruto has committed to put in place critical measures to ensure that Kenya moves forward, and as he has spoken numerous times, to move Kenya into a first world country within our lifetime.
Kenya has experienced various political crises and challenges, and these challenges have led many times political leaders to come together to bridge the divide so that we get to have amicable solutions. And that's why the analytical team was formed. It presented a report which was adopted by Parliament in February 2024. And later on, with its implementation and all the challenges that bedeviled this country, we had UDA and ODM come together with a view to resolve some of the socio-political and economic challenges that this country has faced. The coming together between ODM and UDA was predicated on the signing of an MOU with a 10-point agenda. And these particular 10 points include the full implementation of the NATCO report, inclusivity in all spheres of public life, protecting and strengthening devolution, promoting and protecting the livelihood of the youth, leadership and integrity, the right to peaceful assembly, and Article 37 of the Constitution, and compensation of victims of protests and riots. Fight against corruption, stopping wastage of public resources, protecting and promoting sovereignty of the people and the rule of law and constitutionality. Those are the 10-point agenda. As the chair has indicated, the committee over the last 6 or 7 months has engaged with various implementing agencies, among them the executive office of the president, the legislature, the judiciary, county governments as implementing agencies, constitutional commissions, and ladies and gentlemen, there are achievements that the committee has recorded, significant achievements on the implementation of the 10-point agenda. I will take just a few minutes to speak to them. The Parliament received 9 bills from NATCO, and various of these bills are being considered under various stages of implementation and consideration by Parliament. So far, 3 bills have been enacted into law, including the IBC Amendment Bill 2023 and the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2023 and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Bill 2023. Those have fully been implemented and no further action is needed. We have got 2 other bills that are under mediation, including the Elections Amendment Bill 2023 and the Election Offences Bill 2023. IBC has been fully constituted. It's carrying on with this mandate. We have seen conducting of by-elections, and IBC also has commenced the process that will lead into the delimitation of boundaries, and it has laid out a clear timetable under which that will be done. The BDO Act that enables civil societies to solicit for funds and implement various social projects has been operationalized by President William Ruto's administration. Presently, there is also the process of legislation to harmonize bicameral relations to ensure that the National Assembly and the Senate get to work harmoniously for the greater good of the country. The entrenchment of funds into the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution Amendment Bill on the entrenchment of the NGCDF, the Senate Oversight Fund, and County Ward Fund is under consideration. The has pronounced itself and determined that NGCDF does not violate the Constitution. Agenda 2 and its implementation, inclusivity in all spheres of public life. Key achievements, and I'll just make brief highlights because many of them have been stated by His Excellency the Deputy President. The launch of the National Policy on Ethnic Minorities and Marginalized Communities was done in 2025, December, by His Excellency. 500 million shillings scholarship program has been railroaded by the same policy. The same policy creates the Directorate for Minorities and Marginalized Communities under the Executive Office of the President. On economic inclusion, ladies and gentlemen, measures to reduce the cost of living, we have seen the fertilizer subsidy program, which has lowered the cost of fertilizer 7,000 shillings to 2,500 shillings per bag, which has enabled many farmers to access this. There's 14% reduction in fuel prices and exchange rate gains, which has lowered production. And many Kenyans are now able to travel production by various industries. The costs have gone down, and this success by the broad-based government. Ladies and gentlemen, There is presently timely payment, social protection stipends by the government alongside salaries. This is done in a very timely way compared to what it used to be in the past, where there were serious delays. And then it has also been streamlined such that it has weeded out fraud. And in the past, many people who were able used also to frequently access the social protection funds. This has been weeded out. The equalization fund allocation to support development and service delivery in the marginalized areas has been increased from 1 billion shillings to 9.6 billion shillings, a key achievement at the broad-based government. Inclusion of Restream, the Transmitting Social Health Insurance Authority, has increased healthcare insurance from 7 million to 9.8 million beneficiaries to date. And this is a key achievement that is on record. With the CHPs, 107,000 of them, 831, have been employed. All villages and hamlets in Kenya access primary health care. Sharp programs in 1.5 regions being paid in the government. When it comes to education as an inclusion aspect, 100,000 students have been recruited in 2022. And the deputy president has largely increased the teacher-student ratio, 23,000 classrooms and 1,000 laboratories under a major achievement that is ongoing. The committee has also noted that university allocation has increased from 45 billion to 82 billion shillings. The health scholarship has increased also to 41 billion shillings. These are self-evident achievements under the broad-based government in the period under consideration. Rural and infrastructure inclusion, 60,000 units under construction, creating thousands and thousands of jobs for the youth and various professionals, architects, lawyers, engineers. The reflected scope of achievement under the broad-based. 450 markets constructed nationwide across all the 47 counties, and 6,000 kilometers under construction. Protection and strengthening devolution. Implementation here and achievements, Your Excellency. We have had the equitable share revenue to counties increased from 385 billion shillings to 415 billion in the financial year 2025-2026. And in this financial year project, that this is going to increase 450 billion shillings. Access to funds to county governments, and this increase in share of revenue is a major gain for devolution, and the broad-based government is evidently keen to protect and advance devolution in Kenya. Counties now receive timely monthly disbursements with no pending carryovers as of June 30th, 2025. Your Excellency, under Agenda 4, promoting and protecting livelihoods for young people, we have got many key achievements. So far, for instance, Your Excellency, the committee has recorded that over 90,000 young people from all 1,450 wards are undergoing training in the country. Over 121,000 youth, together with 110,000 youth from Kakuma and Dadaab, these are refugee camps, have received business training, mentorship, and startup grants, 25,000 shillings being an initial to all the 50,000 shillings that they will ultimately receive. Your Excellency, the Nyota program is a major success, which has created opportunities for over 820,000 young entrepreneurs aged between 18 and 29 years. Your Excellency, there is the 50-50 gender parity